My soon-to-be ex-husband, Eric, 40M, and I, 38F, were high school sweethearts from a small town with a predominantly white population. Eric is white, while I, although not a typical-looking white woman, possess enough features that could pass me for white. I recently discovered I am of mixed race, a point that becomes significant later. We married after my high school graduation, and at 26, I became pregnant, giving birth to fraternal twins, EJ, M, and Natalie, F, who are now 12 years old. As the twins grew older, EJ started resembling Eric, blonde, albeit curly hair and fair skin, while Natalie began to take after me with her dark wavy hair and skin that darkened, almost as if she had a permanent tan. Eric and I were baffled because no one in our families had a complexion like hers. Eric pursued a career as a police officer after college. When our kids turned 7, he received a promotion that necessitated our move to the city. I started noticing prejudicial comments from Eric towards certain communities. Comments I initially shrugged off as they were not overtly offensive. It was one of Eric's coworkers who questioned a picture of our children, suggesting that Natalie might be adopted due to her African American features. This idea planted a seed of doubt, and by the time the twins reached 11, Eric's doubt became intolerable, and he insisted on a paternity test. He explained his doubts, and I reluctantly agreed to the test. The results confirmed Eric as Natalie's father. However, he acted distant towards her. My discovery of Eric's online posts in a support forum, where he made accusations against me, black people, and the DNA test, left me furious. I confronted Eric, who insisted there was no way Natalie could be his, and demanded another DNA test. To prove him wrong, I agreed to it. The second test also confirmed Eric as Natalie's father. Desperate to understand Natalie's features, I contacted my parents, who had always appeared white. My mom revealed that my dad was not my biological father and that my real father was biracial. Although my dad initially looked white, upon closer inspection, one could notice his African American heritage, which I had not inherited. This revelation seemed to ease Eric's doubts, but I couldn't forget the offensive comments he had made about black people. I told him I wanted a divorce. Eric apologized and claimed he couldn't understand at the time, but I found his previous beliefs about this community deeply troubling. I refused to raise my children in an environment that normalized negativity towards any community. Despite efforts from Eric and my parents to change my mind and undergo counseling, I remain resolute about divorcing him. Interesting update. I'm somewhat surprised by the level of response I received. I tried to read all of the comments but couldn't keep up. Thank you to those who shared thoughtful words. I have an update, but I'd like to clarify a few things first regarding my mom lying to me. While she never explicitly told me someone else was my biological father, I had never questioned it, so it never came up. She assured me she would tell me the truth if I ever asked. My grandparents and dad were also aware of this agreement. Not all prejudicial comments are negative. Some people misunderstood my husband's comments. He made remarks like a kid running well on the track or being a future businessman, which happened to involve children of different ethnic backgrounds. I didn't realize their significance at the time due to my cultural ignorance. My husband didn't show any explicit signs of harboring negative feelings against other communities. So please stop with the "you were okay with him being racist until it affected you" comments. When I mentioned my husband being distant with Natalie, I didn't mean he treated her poorly. He felt disconnected because he had doubts about her being his biological child, leading to less affection. Otherwise, they still interacted. My husband discovered the Reddit post and was genuinely mortified because he didn't realize how his behavior made him appear. He also appreciates the comments that provided some understanding. In any case, he booked a counseling session with an on-site therapist at his job. I learned that cops have these therapists available for both of us to attend. We delved right into the issue with the counselor, who inquired about why the comments had bothered me so profoundly. I explained that I'd witnessed many innocent people suffering due to hatred for something they couldn't control, resulting in people acting out of character. People would often engage in degrading and harmful behaviors, treating others like they were less than human based on uncontrollable characteristics. My husband questioned if he harbored such feelings toward me and the kids, and my response was uncertain. During our counseling session, it was my husband's turn to share, and he admitted to struggling with an inferiority complex concerning black men. He explained that he believed black people were more physically attractive and gifted and that the girls often had crushes on black boys. This caused pain and insecurity among the white boys, including him. They felt hurt when the girls seemed uninterested in them. In response, these boys looked for ways to compensate, such as making money, pursuing careers, avoiding illegal activities, and more, in an attempt to become more desirable. His quest for validation led to the unhealthy idea of why I like him when I have this. I was shocked by this revelation and asked if he had these feelings when we first met. He admitted he did, but that I never triggered his insecurities because I didn't pay attention to them or engage in discussions about them. However, the fear of me leaving him for someone else always lingered in the back of his mind, leading him to engage in activities like working out, playing sports, and wearing cologne to keep up. The counselor inquired about the prejudicial comments he made, and he explained that he was searching for validation regarding his feelings of being good enough. When he considered the possibility of me cheating, he couldn't comprehend how I might choose someone else over him, someone who provided for his family and offered us a home. This revelation left me feeling numb because I had never imagined he felt this way. I made a request of Eric. He should write a detailed and heartfelt apology letter to the community he had offended. I told him not to share its contents with me but to post it anonymously. My reasoning was that if strangers could forgive him and encourage him to be better, then I could too. After our session, Eric followed through with my request and wrote the letter. He proofread it meticulously and then posted it anonymously. We are currently waiting for the comments. To be honest, his effort has made me reconsider the idea of divorce. He's not off the hook, but I genuinely appreciate the steps he's taken. If any significant developments occur, I'll provide an update. Edit. I apologize for missing this detail earlier, but I want to clarify that I haven't forgotten the prejudicial comments my husband made. Although he provided some explanation during our counseling session, we plan to have a more in-depth discussion about it later. It's important to emphasize that I haven't simply overlooked the hurtful things he said. The counseling session helped me see that he does have some remorse, and we're taking it one step at a time from their point to end. Edit. I appreciate the messages that are coming in. To those who believe I'm excusing his behavior, please understand that I'm not doing that. I apologize if my words inadvertently triggered some reactions, as that wasn't my intention. I want to make it clear that Eric's behavior is absolutely inexcusable, and there's a long road ahead for him to address and rectify his actions. Okay, final update. I want to provide one final update because I've made my decision. I didn't read many comments due to the terrible ones, but the good news is, many of you were right, and I was naive to believe my husband. I am relieved to see that racism is not tolerated or accepted by the majority, despite what some might think of me. After my husband wrote the apology letter, he received support from people who were proud that he admitted his racism and was willing to change. I was willing to work through this, thinking that if others could forgive him, maybe we could too. However, a day or two later, I received a text notification from Mom on her iPad. I realized it wasn't my mom but my mother-in-law, Mil. It seemed my husband forgot to sign out of his Apple ID, linking it to his account. I read the text from my Mil expressing disappointment that I and my kids are of African American descent and how she didn't expect this for her family. She referred to us as the good ones but indicated we had been tricked. My husband's response was no better, blaming my mother for lying about being with one of them and vowing to ensure our kids don't become one of the bad ones often seen in the news. He maintained his racist views, as evidenced by other texts with his mother. Realizing there was no hope for him to change, I've made the decision to leave my husband now. I have been in contact with one of the wives of my husband's ex-coworkers who lives a few cities away. I've explained everything to her, and she's graciously offered to let me and my kids stay with them, as they have the space. I have a job and do not rely on my husband for income. I apologize for disappointing everyone when I initially believed my husband's story in crocodile tears. Looking back, even then, I should not have, but I wanted to believe there was hope that he wasn't racist. We live and learn. This will be my final update, as I am exhausted and focused solely on my kids. Okay, next intriguing story. I had a contingency plan in place even before my boyfriend and I began our serious relationship. However, now that he's my fiancé, he's urging me to discard it. I'm steadfast in my decision not to, and I'm struggling to comprehend why I should. I've always had a contingency plan in place, including a place to live, a financial cushion, and a rainy day fund. It's more detailed than that, but you get the idea. I like having this safety net, and I've been upfront about it with previous partners, allowing them to decide if they're comfortable with it. My fiancé knew about my backup plan before we committed to an exclusive relationship. He understood that, should we ever marry, I would insist on a prenuptial agreement to protect this plan. However, a few days ago, he expressed discomfort with this arrangement. I find it unfair because a prenuptial agreement safeguards his interests, and I believe I should also have something in place to protect myself. I'm genuinely upset about this because I've been completely transparent about my expectations from the very beginning. Edit. I posted this because I was frustrated when he essentially changed his stance on this matter on a Friday, just moments before our scheduled meeting with lawyers. I'm still annoyed, but he knows my Reddit account, so I'm using a throwaway. I don't share the details of this plan with everyone, only with individuals I've been in serious relationships with, which, in total, amounts to just 2 people. The backup plan is intricate, but it doesn't put him at a disadvantage in any way. It's primarily about my protection. I would be covering the property expenses and contributing equally to our household expenditures and savings. Now that he has a thorough understanding of the plan, he suggests we both avoid signing anything. I firmly believe this is a risky proposition. Not only would I be left unprotected, but he would be too. Despite having significantly more assets, he thinks I'm hesitant about our commitment. That's not the case. I love him deeply. However, my father is a divorce lawyer, and based on what I've learned and witnessed, it's better to safeguard oneself and hope not to need it than to have no protection and deal with the aftermath. Both of our parents agree that a prenuptial agreement is necessary. I want to emphasize that I won't give up on this plan. There's nothing that would make me compromise on it. I've made it clear to him that he has a decision to make because my stance won't change. Yes, I informed him about this post, as more people have seen it. I'd rather he hears about it from me rather than from someone else or simply stumbling upon it on Reddit. Okay, first update. I'm providing an update because I've been receiving numerous messages asking for more information. Due to the character limit, I have to split this into 2 parts. Please understand that my original post was driven by anger and a sense of deception. My fiancé and I have since talked and come to a better understanding of each other's perspectives. The idea of breaking up never crossed our minds, and we both needed some time to reflect on the situation. While I appreciate the Reddit community's input, I kindly ask that we avoid bashing my partner. He's a complex individual, and we've resolved many of our misunderstandings. These updates are somewhat therapeutic for me, helping to clarify some points regarding my backup plan, which I referred to as such because I began it at 25. Let me provide some clarity. I've had this plan for approximately a decade, as I'm now in my mid-30s. It consists of an emergency savings account, another savings account, and a property I own. My primary job covers my household expenses with my fiancé and contributes to my primary savings account. My investments and trust fund are managed with the assistance of my father. The emergency savings account is exclusively funded by earnings from additional contract jobs in my profession. The secondary savings account consists of rental income, some of which I allocate for property maintenance and repaying my dad. The property is a multifamily dwelling, and I rent all its units except one. My dad bought this property when I was 24 and has allowed me to repay him at the original purchase price without interest. He originally took out a loan for me because he wanted to ensure my financial stability. I'm in the process of repaying him and should complete it in about 8 months, before our marriage. It's taken me a while to repay my dad because he prioritized my financial stability over swift repayment. House prices in our area have soared, and I'm thankful for my father's assistance in securing this property, which I would not be able to afford today. The property is conveniently located just a 15-minute walk from the nearest hospital and close to the city center. This makes it attractive for renting to medical students, and I typically keep one unit open for special events. I've had some profitable opportunities during big events, such as the recent Beyoncé and Taylor Swift tours, when my property brought in substantial income on those specific days. When no significant events are expected, I leased the property to travel nurses for 3 to 4 month periods, once or twice a year. However, there are periods when it remains vacant, varying from a couple of weeks to 2 to 3 continuous months throughout the year. Overall, this property generates a substantial income. I owe this strategy to my dad, as he helped me set up the apartments and manage them. My partner and I hail from significantly different economic backgrounds. His family enjoys generational wealth, an uninterrupted privilege he has known all his life. On the contrary, I grew up in a solidly middle-class family until my parents' divorce, which introduced a period of financial struggle. His upbringing was characterized by stability with both parents, while my childhood was marked by emotional and mental turmoil, largely due to my birth mom. These differences in our financial mindsets became starkly evident when planning our wedding. One instance involved our discussion of flowers for the wedding. When I mentioned a budget of $30–40K, I meant it as an overall estimate for the entire wedding, not just for flowers. However, my fiancé and his parents misunderstood, thinking I was referring to the floral budget alone. This incident revealed our contrasting perspectives on money.as for the plan and the prenuptial agreement. My fiancé was aware of it from the moment we became exclusive. It wasn't a matter of not trusting him, it was about protecting my assets and being transparent about it, especially as we considered the prospect of marriage. As our relationship became more serious, I divulged more details. After seeking guidance from my father to help him understand the full extent of the plan, I repeatedly mentioned that the backup plan was complex due to the comprehensive prenuptial agreement devised by my father. This extensive document serves as strong protection for me, but my fiancé was not entirely prepared for its full scope. My father's meticulous approach was influenced by the divorces he'd seen and, more significantly, by his own divorce, which had a profound impact on both of us. I also added a light-hearted touch by joking that my father had gone to great lengths to eliminate any potential loopholes, even enlisting the help of associates to review and revise the document if necessary. While I saw this as a way to safeguard our future, my fiancé viewed it differently, perceiving it as a means for me to exit the relationship due to my father's extensive preparations. In summary, my fiancé's discomfort stemmed from his feelings of insecurity. Growing up with a father as the primary breadwinner, he had ingrained the belief that his role was to provide. My comprehensive plan, however, shook his confidence because it demonstrated that I didn't necessarily depend on him financially. He admitted that he hadn't realized how much of his self-worth he had tied to this provider role and felt uncertain about what he brought to the relationship. Upon learning about the periodically vacant unit within my property, he became even more uneasy. Despite my stable job, he had planned and aspired to take care of me. His suggestion to forego both prenuptial agreements was his way of expressing trust and inviting me to do the same. He believed that by willingly rejecting the prenup, even though it meant I could claim a substantial portion of his assets, he was demonstrating his commitment to never causing me financial harm or any other harm. At the time, I perceived it as manipulative due to its timing, just before our meeting with the lawyers, but he later acknowledged that it was a panicked reaction. Okay, second update. I explained the reasons for wanting a prenuptial agreement. The first stemmed from my first-hand experience when my fiancé's brother went through a divorce. To put it delicately, his brother's ex-wife faced severe financial hardships. Without going into the details of their relationship, I'll focus on the financial aspect. She repeatedly ended up in court, unable to afford legal representation after paying substantial legal fees, and ultimately left with a significantly smaller settlement. His family had the financial means to persist in legal battles indefinitely, potentially bankrupting her. They had a prenuptial agreement in place, yet my fiancé's brother's divorce wasn't the direct reason behind my insistence on a prenup. What I tried to convey was that there was an undeniable wealth disparity between us, and while I trusted my fiancé not to follow the same path, having a prenup would provide an added layer of protection and peace of mind for me. The second reason related to my father, who is a divorce lawyer and has reached upper middle class status. His personal experience involved a tumultuous divorce with my birth mom, a situation I witnessed for 3 years. My father is a first-generation immigrant, married young, and did not have a prenuptial agreement. I lived through my birth mom's actions from ages 9 to 12, and it was a harrowing period. She relentlessly sought to destroy my father, with seemingly no concern for the impact on her child's well-being. Financially, she didn't hesitate to inflict damage, even if it also harmed herself. This included depleting savings, accumulating debts from loans and maxed-out credit cards, receiving parking tickets, and having the car towed due to parking violations, leading to additional fees. She made false claims, like accusing my dad of being a pedophile, and even turned against me when I refused to support her falsehoods. All of these actions had long-lasting financial repercussions, causing my father to struggle for years during and after the divorce. It's essential to understand how quickly individuals can transition from a stable or even upper-class lifestyle to near homelessness, both financially and socially. A bitter divorce not only devastates people financially but also affects their social and professional lives. My father lost clients, income, and it took several years to rebuild his life. Our family only survived because my grandmother on my dad's side sold her home to support us. I explained to my fiancée that I'd gone from having a parent who showed me love for 9 years to someone who harbored resentment and aimed to ruin 2 lives, my dad's and mine, due to the end of a marriage. There was no way to stop her, and having a prenuptial agreement could have mitigated a significant portion of the financial damage. Once again, I emphasized that I had complete trust in my fiancé and knew he wouldn't subject me to such turmoil, but it was essential for him to comprehend where my concerns were coming from regarding therapy. I understand the importance and appreciate your concern, but it was challenging to access therapy during my childhood due to financial constraints. I did manage to start therapy when I was 19. In the days following my previous post, my fiancé and I engaged in several discussions. Whenever he had questions or needed clarification, I provided detailed answers. We both had significant realizations during these conversations. I had not fully grasped how much the comprehensive prenup had affected him, and he hadn't understood the depth of my insistence on it. Through our dialogue, he now comprehends that my determination to have a prenuptial agreement stems from a desire to protect both of us. I made it clear that while I deeply love and trust him, the prenup is not a reflection of my commitment to our relationship. Rather, it serves as a precaution. Conversely, I came to understand why he felt insecure about it, and I've worked diligently to alleviate those concerns. I continuously reassure him of the reasons I'm with him and how I value him for who he is as a person rather than what he can provide financially. I invited him to see the property and unit with me, which excited him. I made it known that I don't foresee us parting ways and have plans for the assets to benefit our future children. We both recognize the difference in our emotional and logical approaches to situations, especially when it comes to people we care about. Consequently, we've decided to be more mindful of this dynamic as we move forward. In the end, we both signed the prenuptial agreements, with my fiancé's only request being to refer to mine as an "I'm never going to need this" plan rather than a backup plan. This experience has strengthened our relationship, highlighted the importance of communication outside of counseling, and reaffirmed our commitment to each other. We are excited to continue planning our wedding and embark on this next chapter of our lives together. Friend, how do you like these stories? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's get 1,000 subscribers. I really need it. Love you.